first cars, it's fair to say that everyone falls in love with their first car. Whether it's an old banger that you've saved up for with your pocket money, or maybe you got a brand new Fiat 500 that daddy paid for. It doesn't really matter, because to us they're the greatest cars on the road and no one can tell us otherwise. So here's mine. This is a 2009 1.4 litre Mini One, and by all accounts this is a terrible choice for a first car. Take this one for example. It idles about as smoothly as a piggyback from someone who's just done a line of ket. It burns through oil like a council estate mum burns through a pack of fags. And the engine lights on the dash like a group of travellers on a playing field. They just won't bugger off. And when you finally get rid of them, rest assured they'll be back the next week. It's fair to say that all these problems stem from the engine. So what is under the bonnet of this thing? Well, it's a 1.4 litre naturally aspirated 4-cylinder that can be found in a variety of dreary Peugeot and Citroen hatchbacks and people carriers. Makes about 90 horsepower, and that can take it from 0 to 60 in 10 seconds. And that's not fast by any means, but it's enough to beat most UK traffic off the lights, so long as 1, they're not aware that they're racing you, and 2, you redline the shit out of it in every gear. As I mentioned before, this engine has a first royal greater than that of the American military. And that doesn't just apply to this car, and it's not just due to lack of maintenance, it simply is just a really poorly engineered engine. The lump of French shit under the bonnet combined with BMW's brittle plasticky coolant system makes this car a real money pit. But do I care? Nah, I fucking love this car. The massive grin that this car puts on my face is enough to make me forget about all the time it's almost died on me and all the damage it's done to my bank account. It truly is a pleasure to drive. Every motoring journalist has already done to death the cliche about go-kart handling, and of course it doesn't actually handle like a go-kart, but it's about as close as you're going to get in a car with doors, windows, 4 seats. I find myself taking racing lines on the way to the shops just so I can experience the sublime handling that this car's got to offer. And due to the low-powered engine, all this fun can be had within the speed limit, generally speaking. It also has to be said that the exterior style of this car is absolutely amazing. Because 16-year-old me didn't know anything about handling or acceleration. So the one thing that drew me to this car was simply the fact that it looks so much cooler than anything else on the British roads. It's such a timeless design, all the proportions are perfect. And with a few exterior modifications, such as my non-functioning headlamps and some bigger rims that I used to own, it can actually have some serious road presence. As for the interior, well, I personally think that that's also a masterpiece. Everything's exactly where you want it to be. You've got the rev counter, your digital speedo, there's also the retro speedo in the middle, which is a great talking point for passengers if nothing else. And although I've gone on about how unreliable this car is, it has to be said that every time I've really needed it, it's never let me down. For example, I went on a road trip around Scotland where I covered 1,000 miles in 3 days, and it worked perfectly all through that. So I like to think that as long as I look after it by topping up the oil and checking it regularly, then it'll look after me. Unfortunately, this car is not easy to work on for a novice mechanic. Everything's packed so tightly in the engine bay, it's like playing a game of Tetris. However, that didn't stop it from making me into a true petrolhead. I changed my first tyre on this car. I've done some cosmetic stuff like tinting the windows, and I fixed the speaker once. And although that may not sound like anything special, it gave me the confidence that I needed to work on my second car, which is rear wheel drive and a lot easier for me to wrap my head around. That seems to be the running theme with this car, really. I've developed a lot as a person since the naive 17-year-old version of me went and bought it. I've made a lot of memories with friends and family. I owe a lot of them to this car right here. So although it may be on its last legs, it may be a bit of a ball ache to own sometimes, I wouldn't have done anything differently. So I hope that maybe if you've just passed your tests and you're looking to buy a new car and you're watching this, that hopefully I persuaded you to maybe overlook your Commodore Garden Fiesta and Corsa. Maybe consider something a bit older with a few more miles on the clock, because I guarantee you won't regret it. Although it may start off as just a car, as you get to know it, it'll start to become more than that. It'll start to become your base.